If you've spent the last few evenings scrolling through endless speaker options, watching video after video about power ratings, driver sizes, and brand histories, and you still feel stuck on which unit will actually give you that clean, room-filling sound without draining your budget, this review is here to clear things up. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've sat down with a handful of mid-sized venues, rehearsal rooms, and even a backyard gig setup to see how a column-style powered speaker like the Yamaha DXL1K behaves when the lights go down and the band turns up. First, let's talk about the scenario that brings the DXL1K into the conversation. Imagine you're a small venue owner who already has a single Yamaha StagePa 1K MKI on stage, and you've been told, hey, you need a stereo pair or maybe a side fill for a bigger crowd. The obvious answer could be to buy 2 more full-range cabinets, but that can quickly become a budget nightmare, especially when you factor in separate amplifiers, cabling, and the space they occupy. The DXL1K is Yamaha's answer to that dilemma, a 12-inch, two-way, bi-amp-powered speaker that slots neatly beside an existing StagePa, promising identical power and sonic quality while keeping the footprint relatively slim. In practice, that promise translates into a system that can be expanded without turning your stage into a forest of towers. From a practical standpoint, the DXL1K's 100-watt rating is not just a number on a spec sheet. It's the amount of headroom you actually feel when you push the mix to a lively level. In my testing with a 16-channel digital console, the speaker handled a full band mixed drums, bass, guitars, keyboards, and vocals without any noticeable compression or distortion, even when the bass frequencies were turned up for that punchy low end you expect in a rock rehearsal. The bi-amp design means the low-frequency driver and the high-frequency driver each get their own dedicated amplifier, which reduces intermodulation distortion and helps keep the mids clean. That's why you can hear a clear vocal line sitting on top of a thumping kick drum without the two smearing each other. One of the hidden trade-offs you'll notice is the column shape itself. Because the drivers are arranged vertically, the DXL1K projects sound both forward and upward, which can be an advantage in rooms where the audience is spread out horizontally and vertically, such as a church balcony or a tiered bar area. The upward dispersion fills the upper rows without needing extra hanging speakers. However, in a small, carpeted rehearsal space, the same upward throw can cause a bit of room shimmer, a slight reverberation that makes the high frequencies feel a touch brighter than you might want for a dry studio sound. If your primary use case is close-mic'd live streaming or recording in a treated booth, you'll probably need to tilt the speakers slightly downward or use a dedicated monitor for that specific task. Who should buy the DXL1K? The sweet spot is anyone who already trusts Yamaha's PA ecosystem and wants to scale up without reinventing the signal chain. That includes small club owners, church worship teams, wedding DJs, and even serious musicians who rehearse in a garage and need a reliable main speaker that can double as a monitor. Because the unit is powered, you eliminate the guesswork of matching an external amp to the driver's impedance, and you keep the cabling simple: a single XLR or a 1/4-inch CH input and a power cord. If you already have a StagePa 1K MKI, the DXL1K is practically a plug-and-play addition. Just match the input level, and you'll have a balanced stereo pair that fills a 30-foot venue comfortably. Conversely, there are clear reasons to skip this speaker. If you're a pure audiophile looking for an ultra-high-fidelity home theater component, the DXL1K's design priorities high SPL, durability, and straightforward connectivity don't align with the nuanced, low-distortion performance you'd expect from a dedicated hi-fi cabinet. Also, if you need a lightweight, portable solution for a traveling solo act, the column form factor adds height and weight that can be cumbersome to transport compared with a compact box speaker and a separate amp. The DXL1K weighs around 30 pounds, and while it's not a freight train load, it does require 2 people to safely lift it onto a stage or into a vehicle. Now let's break down the practical strengths that become evident after a few nights of use. The first is consistency. Because Yamaha has used the same amplification and driver technology in the StagePa line for years, you get a predictable tonal match when you pair the DXL1K with existing gear. That means you won't spend hours tweaking EQ to make the left and right speakers sound cohesive. They start out sounding like twins. The second strength is reliability. The sealed enclosure and internal power supply are built to handle the kind of abuse you see on the road overdriven signals, occasional power spikes, and the occasional bump when loading gear. In the field, I've never had a blown fuse or a sudden shutdown, which is a huge confidence booster when you're running a gig and can't afford downtime.